welcome to this week's episode. Today I got to sit down with Annamarie Buonocore, and she is the editor of InflightUSA magazine, and just recently started also publishing the BizAvJets USA magazine. And Annamarie is really, really cool to know and a great person to talk with about publishing and that end of marketing in the aviation industry and other industries as well. As often happens in the aviation industry, a lot of the folks that we do business with were already advertising in InflightUSA. Joe Garland of TriSoft Covers, Jet Values Jeremy, a lot of other folks that we knew. And of course, aviation being the small world that it is, I was really curious to learn more. So I'm really happy that we are now working together in our marketing lab, and also ABCI is an advertiser in the InflightUSA magazine. So Annamarie Buonocore is a Bay Area entrepreneur who has been in the publishing business for just shy of a decade. So we were really thrilled to sit down with her and ask her all kinds of questions and learn a lot about publishing, see how we should be interacting with these publications. Annamarie, you do a lot of, or you have a background in publishing and have done a bunch of different publications. Can you tell me maybe how that started for you, or how that came about?
Sure. My family has been in the publishing business for 37 years. My dad started an aviation publication, InflightUSA, in 1984. He was a student pilot, and he wanted to have a publication for other student pilots. Before that, he worked in a boating magazine, and that partnership kind of fell off. So he got into aviation. And I've been involved in the business since I was a kid, doing minor tasks here and there, sticking labels, helping on deliveries. And it's always been a part of my life. After he passed away, we held on to the family business. I worked there when I was in high school, when I was in college, and then when I was studying history and literature at San Jose State, I started my own literary journal. And I'm half Greek American, so it focused on the Greek American issues and Greek stories, poetry, etc. I did that for about 3 years. It was a nonprofit and a little difficult to secure funding for it. So
wow. So was that like in the Greek language, or was that in English? Or
it was both, mostly in English, but
okay.
We did have some Greek language in there. And that was great. But then our editor quit at InflIght, so I jumped on board full-time as an editor with the family business. And that went well. Then after a few years, I jumped into ad sales because that was the department that needed most of my help. So I just really started selling full-time. And I've done a few other publications. We had a farming and ranching publication that we did for a few years. We had a wine publication that we did for many years. My mom and dad started that together, and we discontinued that in 2012, but we still have an online blog for it. And we just launched a BizAvJets USA that's focused on charters and jets and things like that. We feel that's the wave of the future for aviation, so we've jumped into that market. And then because I also do a lot of work with seniors in memory care, we have a directory for seniors in our local area that we publish quarterly. So yeah, we're a full service publishing house.
That is amazing. And that's a really wide range of topics. I guess there's quite a bit that's kind of common to publishing, but are you finding that especially the two now aviation publications, is there anything that's particularly bizarre about them or about the market or anything like that?
Well, there is quite a bit of overlap. I mean, we find that a lot of our general aviation clients and people that we deal with in the general aviation community also have some connection to business aviation. And of course, in business aviation, they're looking for students, mechanic students, student pilots. So there's definitely a connection to general aviation, but they're very different publications. There's a different way of thinking in these communities. I would say that they tend to be growing further apart, but there's a lot of growth, especially on the business aviation side. I think we're going to see a lot of growth with these jets, charters, especially in light of COVID-19. People want to fly privately. People don't want to be getting on a commercial airliner with everybody coughing and sneezing and all of that. So we do see some growth in that market. And then general aviation, a lot of people don't have much hope for it, but people have to learn how to fly somewhere. And there's only so many incentives through boutique airline programs and smaller airlines that are offering education. I mean, these flight schools at airports are going to continue to grow. They're going to continue to see students, and there's going to be a need for rentals. People are going to start off in the Cessna 152s, 172s. And I think there is a lot of hope for propellers in general aviation as well, though some may disagree with that.
Right. Well, they certainly are interconnected, and you can't really have one sustainably without the other. So
Right.
that's for sure. So speaking of flight schools and so on, I read on your LinkedIn page that you were working on your private pilot rating. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct. I have a few hours under my belt. I've done a lot on the simulator, and I am a student pilot myself, and I plan to hopefully get my license by the end of 2021.
Oh, wow. Congratulations. So have
Thank you.
you been bit by the bug? Is that something that's impacting your life and it's all you think about, or is that
Yes. Well, I do think about it a lot. I've met a lot of pilots over the years, interviewed a lot of them, and it's really inspired me. And my dad died at a younger age, and he didn't get to do as much flying as he would have liked to do or buy aircraft that he would have liked to purchase. He had very few hours. And then once kids came along and business built up, he kind of had to shelf it. So it's just a nice legacy that I'd like to carry on in my family.
Oh, that is cool. And it certainly has, I think, changed the way that people see other people who are pilots, in a different light. And, the vocabulary and everything else is just really, really helpful, I think, for resonating with people. And the writing that you do, I'm sure will reflect that background as well. So we talked about how the markets have changed, but is the publishing industry changing in 2021, do you think? I know there's been a lot of impact even before COVID, where publications were kind of merging and consolidating and going online instead of printed, and reducing their staffs and things. How's that impacted you guys, and how are you strategizing around that?
Well, it's one of the reasons we're here. I mean, print is still strong, especially among our older readers. We have a lot of veteran, seasoned readers who love to still pick it up and hold it in their hand. And we
Mhm.
still cater very much to that market. We still print quite a few magazines, but we have a very strong digital and online presence as well. We're published on several online platforms, including Issue, AnyFlip. We're all over social media: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. And we're growing from there. We're finding new publications and new social media outlets all the time. So it's changing in that we're going more digital. It's also changing in that advertisers are expecting something different. They're looking for ways to track their results. And that's why I am becoming certified in Google Ads. I'm learning more about Facebook ads to kind of serve as a consultant and do work with agencies like yours that are really helping on the digital side. And I'm here to learn. I'm here to gain as much education as possible. I highly recommend Aviation Business Consultants, and I think you're doing a great job, and we're really happy to be partnering with you in our efforts.
Right. Well, I'm really enjoying it as well. I think this is going to be great for both of us. So I'm really excited to see where this goes, because publishing and marketing have always been kind of peanut butter and jelly, and
Yeah.
So I understand that. I'm glad you understand both sides of that, and are doing the sales as well. So what's next for you? Any big goals or projects on the horizon?
Well, my goal right now is to do everything I can to get BizAvJets USA distributed and well marketed. That was my big project. We're going to do another one over the summer, and just increasing the ad line for that, finding people who want to market to that demographic and improving our strategy for that. And then my other big project right now is my senior directory. We're kind of taking that up to the next level and really getting that on the digital platforms and getting our audience to take advantage of it that way. What sets us apart from simply Googling elder resources in the community? we definitely have a niche, and we have a very specific distribution that will help those in the elder care industry get recognized. So those are my two big projects right now.
Fantastic. That is so cool. And everybody's talking about seniors these days. So, it's really cool that you're in both of those markets. So that I'm sure there's a little bit of an intersection, since most aviation decision makers, we found the demographics are trending older as well. So, those markets very well, which is cool. Any advice that you have for people to get the most publicity and get the most out of their advertising?
Yes, I would say keep an open mind and listen to everybody around you, and then make decisions based on your demographics and your budget. Print is very much still in, especially in niche communities. Often when you hear stats about declining print media, they're referring to mass media and local media. They're not so much referring to magazines or newspapers that have a specific niche: the boating community, the elder care community, the flying community. And I think that at InflightUSA, we can give you a lot for your money. I definitely would give people the advice to work with a professional and hear what they have to say in terms of selecting their marketing, because there's so much out there now. It's so different than the market my dad was dealing with. It was pretty much magazines and newspapers, and that was it back then. But nowadays, people have far more options, and I would just recommend vetting it all out before making any quick decisions.
Right, right. And I would echo that, and would love to hear your thoughts on what we call random acts of marketing, where people will try things one time and then decide that didn't work, we're not going to do that again. In our experience, you have to try things for at least 12 weeks. And in the case of print media and other things that come out less often than a lot of the digital formats, you want to give it 6 months, before you can really make a determination of whether it's working or not, because you have such a long sales cycle in the aviation industry.
Right. And that's fine to do a random act once in a while. I mean, especially for events and whatnot, we know how to work with the one-time customer. We know how to work with the ongoing customer. There's lots of different strategies for how to deal with both of those. But I would say if you're really interested in doing a one-time or a piece like a flyer or a postcard is a really good idea. And we can do that for you. We have connections in our printer. We can do inserts. We can do direct mailers. And we are equipped to handle that kind of print media as well.
Oh, nice. I didn't know that. That's cool. All right. So I ask everybody, what is your favorite book or movie? Because that gives you a lot of insight, I think, into people's personalities. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think the best book I ever read, I was in the 8th grade, and then I read it again a couple times on my own, was To Kill a Mockingbird. It's just an interesting book. It's a good storyline. I love the characters, and it's just a classic that I like to come back to.
Right. Do you like the movie as well, or the book?
Well, the book was better than the movie, but yes, I've watched the movie several times, and I've enjoyed it very much.
Right. I think that's always true, especially if you read the book first. The movie never quite lives up to your expectations, but that doesn't mean we don't love the movies as well. No, that's a great one. That is such a classic, and such a example of the tradition, I think, of great writing. That people don't know as much these days. I wish that on the kids' book lists and things like that they'd stick to some of those classics and require at least a couple of those a year. Those books that are more than 50 years old, so that kids get a better grounding in what the world was like, and how things worked and how people thought and all that stuff.
Right. That's a great point.
Yeah. Favorite airplane?
Well, I've been training in a Cessna 172, which is a lot of fun, but I really like all the different Cirrus aircraft. I really enjoy looking at them, and they're just really pretty. When I go to the airport, I like to spend time looking at those, and that's a lot of fun. So I hope one day maybe I'll be able to afford one of those.
Yeah, they really have a different aesthetic sense. I was talking with somebody the other day about how Cirrus is kind of the Apple of the aviation world. The design is the start and end of the aircraft. It's very distinctive, and every decision is very aesthetically planned out and all of that. So it's a really neat airplane.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much. It's been a great pleasure getting to know you you've been in our group for a couple of months, and I'm really looking forward to where this relationship goes. I think this is going to be a lot of fun.
Yes.
All right. So as I said, Annamarie is a great person to get to know. I would recommend connecting with her online on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. She's on all of the usual channels. And follow InflightUSA and also BizAvJets publications. And they have some great news items, and it's a really great way to keep up with the news of what's going on in the industry, and also a great advertising venue.